What's the secret of big brands that staring you in the face is the subject of today's eCentral Business Show. I'm John Naylor. Now, one thing we do here at eCentral is we work with businesses ongoing to develop brands and marketing strategy and that sort of thing. And ultimately, they ask me, what is the secret to a big brand? How do we actually develop a brand? And I say, well, there's a couple of foundation things that we need to consider. And let's tackle that first up by asking you a few questions and come along on the journey with me as we ask you, what is the secret of modern brands that are staring you in the face? It's right there and it's been there for some time. And now in the digital era, it's virtually every big brand has adopted this strategy. So let's deal with that. So let's go take you on a bit of a journey and ask you a couple of questions. What was or what is the biggest search engine out there? Of course, that's an easy one, yeah? It's Google, right? And there's their sister, of course, part of the business as well at Google is YouTube. We won't touch on that one, but let's also ask you, what was the biggest search engine? What was the big one at the start? All you Gen Xers, you remember what it was, yeah? It was Yahoo. The rest of the younger folk, of course, are probably not even going to click in, but it's still out there and still doing what it does. But it was the biggest search engine, wasn't it? Yahoo. That's where we found things. Now, more recently, and as we've watched the internet develop over the past 20-odd years, we've come to use a single site and a single place where we keep all our friends. What's that one? Yeah, Facebook, that's correct. And the list goes on and on. What was the biggest and continues to be the biggest online search engine auction site on the internet is eBay. Here in Australia, of course, we like to sell stuff to our friends, to our neighbours and down the street, and we like to connect that sales process and sell stuff online. Whereabouts? Gumtree, that's right. And how do you get across town? Now, this is something that's happened across the world. In the past, we used to use a taxi, yeah? But these days, all around the world, we use Uber. So they're a really, really modern brand. So let's take one step back from that. So what's the most popular fast food chain in the world? Yeah, it's McDonald's, that's right. But here in Australia at least, and I think other places in the world, what do we actually call it? We've shortened that down because that's what Australians do with names and words. We shorten them down. And what do we call it here in Australia? Of course, we call it Macca's. Okay, wow. This is the part where we pause for effect. As I let you ponder the question, have you noticed what's happening inside those brands and noticed the common flavour about it? Yeah, I'm sure at least a percentage of you have seen it now. I've shown it to you in some sort of chain of events and something you see. But for the rest of you that haven't got it yet, they're all 2 syllables. That's right, folks, all 2 syllables. And even the way we've shortened down Macca's has happened, you know, from McDonald's. And let's have a look at the list goes on and on and on. Are you an iPhone user from Apple, or do you have a Samsung S8? Maybe you've got a Google Pixel phone. And the list goes on and on. Around the internet brands that have been big successes over time, you know, we've come to use Twitter and Salesforce and Netflix. And so PayPal's another classic example. Very early days of the internet secured a place in our hearts and our minds and our psychology as being the place that we go and trust when it comes to transacting. Now, it goes way, way back, in fact, and if we look in our terrestrial brands and the brands that have eked out over time and been success stories, there's other ones that came up there. We saw that was Caltex and vehicle brands such as Audi. And of course, here in Australia, we've got Harvey Norman. Doesn't quite conform, but hey, does it? It's actually Harvey Norman. So that's actually okay as well. If it rolls off the tongue, we're going to adopt it. And then, of course, as we saw those brands flash up, another great example is Tesla. They've taken the world by storm and changing the way that we think about automotive and, in fact, solar power and battery storage of power. So Tesla are taking a big brand and a big name that, of course, conforms to that same strategy. So, and here at eCentral, of course, yeah, we fail. And people have pointed out to me in the past, but hey, John, you're eCentral. What's with this 3 syllable things? Well, it's a bit late for me, kind of like for Microsoft. You know, I've been around for 19 years with eCentral, but we've rolled out products this year, so great products around digital marketing analysis. We've called that Flight Plan. We've got a great in-house customer database and CRM system that we're bringing to market, and it's called Jetstream. So we're taking that consideration, and we're living that truth of 2 syllables, because if you want a big brand, that's the sort of things you've got to do. So in practical terms, what does that actually mean? Can you actually achieve that and get yourself a two-syllable brand? Aren't all the good ones taken? Well, I say no. Last year, we launched an experiment in terms of shared dining. We saw that there was something in Europe called Viz Eat, two syllables again, and here at home, our own homegrown version of that, as we had the workshop revelation, and we came up with shared gourmet. And around that, it's like, oh, isn't that as an asset taken? Well, no, we found that we were able to take out the domain names we wanted, and we were able to take out the business names that we wanted. There was no trademarks in place. So that's another great example of how that actually is possible in the modern day and something you need to apply. So let's give you a brand checklist to take away today. So this is modern day brand stuff. This is 101 and something that you can put in your base layer, and unless you want to break away and do something completely different, but I think I've given you enough evidence that you'd think about it twice before not using a two-syllable name for your brand or product, yeah? So let's give you some takeaways. Two syllables, absolute top of the list, because I've shown you countless examples of how this is going to help you. If you want to be Billy Blogs architects, sure, go away and do that, because that's applicable to your business and obviously your business desires. If you've got bigger goal in mind, if you're a startup that's got obviously plans to get funded and get big, then hey, two syllables I think is something you should really think very strongly about, yeah? Okay, what else is in there? Now, we saw some of those examples too around Facebook. We saw PayPal. We saw Google. We saw Yahoo. So there's another bullet point there around ooh and the ah. So if you can possibly wind in or push in a ooh or an ah sound, then there's definitely, you want something that's going to roll off the tongue, and perhaps there's something just primeval about our brain space, or something we just like because we used to go ugh ugh or woof woof back in the day. So these days, of course, there's something primeval, there's something psychological. Haven't been able to lift the bonnet on that, but there's something definitely about two-syllable names or two-syllable things that roll off our tongue, isn't there? Now, obviously, if you've got that far, you've got some ideas for a brand name that's two syllables, fits with the ooh and ah, then the next thing to do is look at whether you can register your business name, whether you can register your .com, obviously other domains. So if you're an Australian business, then obviously you're going to need a .com.au around that two-syllable name, and that brand name. So that's another must-have in my mind. And whatever other domains around that are applicable for the country that you're targeting. If you've got the money and you've got the drive, and this looks like going to be bigger than Ben-Hur, then obviously the other thing to do is to try and secure your trademark around that brand name as well. So, and that's obviously a conversation you have with a trademark lawyer. So that's a simple takeaway today. I've given you a revelation. We've got a checklist there, so this is something for you to think about if you're going to go ahead and develop a big brand or something you think is going to be a big brand. And ultimately what we'd like to do here at eCentrals, we'd like to have that conversation with you about brand development and how that pushes forward into that space, and the digital strategy and the marketing strategy around those sorts of things, and the platform that we've got with our Flight Plan and Jetstream to actually get stuff done and have those conversations with clients as you develop your brand and build that big business. So that's all for today. I'm John Naylor from eCentral, and it's an absolute pleasure speaking to you, and I look forward to showing you more through the eCentral Business Show real soon. Very much for watching another episode of the eCentral Business Show. What we're looking to do across the eCentral Business Show is bring to you the very best content from great people with really informative knowledge to share. It's something that you can listen to in the car. Don't watch it obviously when you're doing that, but we're looking to really bring value to you across LinkedIn, YouTube, podcastable content, so it's really great and informative business knowledge. So please tune in as much as you can. Now, the great ways to follow us, you can register on the database, make contact with us, and we'll put your email in. We're going to tell you each month what great videos will come out, and just give you a curated version through the eCentral magazine, where we're going to send you the most popular videos for the month. The other thing we can do is obviously invite you to connect with us on LinkedIn, linked up with myself, John Naylor. And the other thing, of course, is look up John Naylor on YouTube and subscribe to our channel there.